Sunday Surefire Podcast. It's your host this week, Aaron Downtown Brown. I got the co-host with me, Ethan Weaver.
Aaron, how we doing? Week 2 in the books.
We're doing, man. Yes, week 2 is definitely in the books. It was another fun, exciting week. Did you survive week 2 in your fantasy leagues?
My dynasty leagues, I was I fared very well. Redraft, not so much. It was kind of a tough week for me. How about yourself?
I'm kind of in the same boat. Yeah, I didn't come through with a whole lot of W's. It's funny. I had a couple leagues where I scored a lot, but I still came down with the loss because my opponent had even more than I did. So, that happens with fantasy. You score 150 points and lose. I guess that's that happens every now and then. But
Yeah,
I guess I think what you're alluding to is week 2 is a little crazy. One thing we wanted to kick off the show tonight with was injuries. So a couple big name headlines that kind of wanted to talk first, and I guess just starting with quarterback. I guess the biggest news is really the unfortunate play with Tua again. With him having another concussion. Just heard the news this week. He is gonna, of course, be put on IR, and Skylar Thompson is going to be taken over at Miami. How do you feel over that situation?
just a tough situation for Tua. You got to feel for him. He he's such a good player. Seems like a very good guy, and it's just unfortunate that I feel like every time he tries to extend the play or make something happen and he gets hit in the head, it just looks so brutal. And I feel like every time you see it, it's on national television. It was just a tough sight to see on the field. And forget fantasy football, forget football. You just hope he's going to be okay, right? Long term. And Tua already came out, so he doesn't plan to retire, but I hope he gets the proper advice. I hope he talks to the proper personnel. I know Miami came out and essentially said, hey, we're putting him on IR so we can talk to independent neurologists and really dial this thing in because, he's so young. It's like you have your whole life to live. The last thing you want to do is mess with your brain in any way at such a young age. So, obviously my thoughts are with him. Hopefully he can return. Hopefully he gets some positive news, but yeah, just as a very tough sight to see.
Agree. I think that's where you gotta, us as fantasy guys, we gotta take ourselves out of that equation and just, hope that the best decisions made, and then yeah, I guess we'll kind of track it and see how that progresses. But yeah, I was happy to see he was put on IR just for those reasons, and so they can properly evaluate that. But as we know, Skylar Thompson's going to take over at the helm for the at least minimum the next 4 weeks, which is I'm probably guessing it's going to be a little bit longer than that. But the other quarterback situation, I think you alluded to it last week, where it was kind of very just eye-opening week 1. We know the Panthers kind of made some off-season moves a little bit with Deontay Johnson drafting Leggett at wide receiver as well. We were kind of a little more hopeful in the passing game, but Bryce Young really wasn't cutting it. We also heard the news with Andy Dalton's going to be taking over at quarterback. What are your thoughts there?
I think you have to tip your cap to Canales there. That's a bold move to bench your 101 from just a year ago. He obviously started last year. He's completed 2 games in 2024, and they've already pulled the plug on him. I think that was the right call. You can't possibly evaluate this football team with Bryce Young at the helm. It was just a mess. Nothing was working for him. He just looked so out of sorts. He just didn't look like he belonged. He definitely wasn't one of the top 32 quarterbacks in this league. Andy Dalton gives him a much better chance to win at this point. And if you kept playing Bryce Young, you were just going to lose a locker room. We were excited about Deontay Johnson, about his target share. And obviously they spent the first round pick on Leggett, and it just nothing was working with Bryce. You look at him through the first 2 weeks, he was 13 for 30 for 161 in week 1 with 2 picks. And then he was 18 for 26, 84 yards, and another interception in week 2. And that's just not going to cut it. And like I said, he just didn't look like he belonged out there. So it's just insane what they gave up to get Bryce Young. They gave up DJ Moore. They gave up another first round pick to move up to the 101. draft him over a CJ Stroud, over an Anthony Richardson. And these are the kind of moves that get people fired, obviously, and it sets your organization back years. So, I mean, Canales came out and essentially said, hey, we went back, we watched the film, and after we watched the film, we were like, hey, we have to move in a different direction, because I'm sure that film was pretty hard to watch. And Canales was like, hey, I can't possibly tell my football team that I'm giving them the best chance to win by starting Bryce Young. So, hey, good for him. And now with Andy Dalton, hopefully Deontay Johnson is going to rise from the dead.
Yeah, I'm kind of under that impression too. I'm kind of happy over that with Deontay Johnson. But yeah, just I mean, unfortunate situation. If you're a Panthers fan, that's gotta suck. Anytime you draft a young quarterback, you're kind of wishing that's your guy for the future. So, yeah, as you said, you really got to be at least over 60% completion rate in the NFL these days. If and he's under 50, right? So that's well below
It's not
the mark
close.
there. Not even close. Yeah, I can't even give him any benefit of the doubt there. So couldn't agree with you more. But yeah, moving on to the running back position, a couple other injuries. Of course, we knew about the CMC injury. Now, mind you, a little bit late with the Jordan Mason play last week, but we did learn that CMC is going to end up going on IR. Um, and then I'll go ahead and say the next one as well. Just another big name was my flag plant this year was Isaiah Pacheco with the fractured fibula. Haven't really heard the full timetable there, but I don't think a fractured fibula sounds very good. So, what are your thoughts over CMC and Pacheco there?
Yeah, CMC, unfortunately, everybody who had the 101 this year is pretty much screwed unless you handcuffed CMC with Jordan Mason, and then you're doing just fine. But yeah, just unfortunate for CMC. I just think it's kind of crazy how we were led to believe as fantasy managers that CMC had a shot, right, to play week one. And then all of a sudden, say, nope, CMC's scratched. He's not playing. Jordan Mason's starting. And then Jordan Mason came out and essentially said right after the game, oh, yeah, I knew I was starting Friday. And then the whole, storm started coming because Kyle Shannon's like, we never told Jordan Mason he was starting on Friday. And Jordan Mason's like, you look at you say one wrong thing, and now the whole media is on your back.
Yep.
And hey, he'll learn to not say
Guy
too
was
much to
almost
the
in
media.
tears. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt bad for the poor guy. But yeah, so clearly, I mean, the Niners knew CMC wasn't going to play week one, and now he's on IR. And I mean, I don't know if we are going to bring this guy up, but I feel the same way about a guy like Hollywood Brown, right? When I drafted him in my redraft in best ball leagues, I was told he was going to be ready for week two, and now
Yep.
he's season end. He basically not going to be back until the playoffs potentially. So it's like these NFL teams are just giving us this BS information that we have to work with. You draft these guys and then you get screwed.
Right.
It's
I know.
BS.
Like, come on. Don't they know we got a fantasy league to run here?
Yeah. I got to pay the bills, damn it.
That's right. That's right. No, I couldn't agree with you more. That was pretty discouraging. Definitely agree with you there. Some of those late notices. I mean, I have shares of those guys as well. Um, I guess the last guy to talk here on the running back category is Joe Mixon, a guy I don't think you're as high on, but I was pretty high on leading up to this season as well. But I another kind of headline where I guess debatable situation had that hip drop tackle. So he's working through that. I think MRI coming back negative, so I don't think he'll be out for too long. And I guess we'll see day to day if he's going to play in week 3 or not. But definitely another injury to monitor at the running back position.
Yeah, before I touch on Mixon, I just want to touch a little bit more on Pacheco. We didn't really get into him too much. Obviously, unfortunate for Pacheco. Obviously, you, Aaron, as a Chiefs fan, I'm sure that was a tough blow because it's not like you guys have a plethora of backs to choose from. Carson Steele, Samaje Perine. Honestly, like just thinking about waivers that are going to run tonight, right? I mean, do we even? How confident are we in either of those guys, right? I mean, I feel like you're going to pick one of those guys up and they're going to be like 5 points for you in your lineup. So, but yeah, I heard Pacheco's probably going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. And who knows how he's going to be when he gets back. So if you drafted him in your redraft leagues, unfortunately, it's probably not going to be very fun for you for the remainder of the season with Pacheco. Hopefully he can come back though in 6 to 8 weeks, but we'll see. And then Mixon, I mean, if I knew he was going to get 30 touches a game in that offense, I would have loved Mixon this year in redraft. But also, it's like if he's a guy like Mixon's going to get, I don't know, 20 plus touches a game. I mean, is he going to last? I don't think so. But he definitely wasn't the same guy when he came back into the game after the injury. So it's definitely something that we need to monitor. Cam Akers took over the duties when Mixon was out. So yeah, we'll just keep an eye on that one.
Agree, and yeah, as a Chiefs fan, did not like to see that happen. And yeah, like just in the fantasy world, who's really going to take over, whether it's Carson Steele, which even being a Chiefs fan, and I didn't even know who the heck he was till the preseason happened either. So you got Steele coming out of nowhere, you got P Ryan that's kind of coming back from the dead as well. And then but you did get the Kareem Hunt signing too, so hopefully he
Look
can.
out. Look
Yeah, I
out.
know. Bring back the Chiefs days of old, back to that rookie season. So who knows?
Hey,
But I
bring
mean,
back that rugby player. He's good to go.
there you
He's ready to
go. Yeah,
roll.
that's like, hey, why did you drop him in the first place? But yeah, I mean, maybe that's just actually just better signs for Mahomes. I think Mahomes has been disappointing in fantasy for the first 2 weeks. So maybe it just means more
Very
pass
disappointing.
attempts and goal line plays that maybe would have went to Pacheco. Maybe that they're going to keep it in Mahomes' hands. So I actually kind of like it from Mahomes a little bit.
I got to ask you a question. Was that pass interference at the end of the game with Rashee Rice?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt, no doubt.
Yeah,
No,
people are
it's
all up
funny,
in
right?
arms about that.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I've seen a survey even from I think, McAfee show. I think even, most population, think it was definitely pass interference, but like a good 5 or 10% said, "I'm just a hater of the Chiefs," and they said it. They said it was not because they're
Let
haters.
the boys play.
You're right. Yeah, yeah. But here, this last category, here's a bunch of big name guys. I'm not sure if we'll go through every single one of them. I'll kind of let you dissect them a little bit. But we also got some pretty, big name wide receivers that we got to track injury going into week 3 too. And we of course got Cooper Kupp, where he just was looking awesome right out the gates, and then came down with that injury where we got Cooper Kupp. Debo, we just heard about. He's going to be out missing some times. AJ Brown already missed week 2 as well. We got Justin Jefferson. They got hurt mid game, and then also Amon-Ra St. Brown as well. So some of the top. I mean, those are most of your first round guys right there. I don't know your thoughts right there with that group.
Yeah, I'm going to start off with Cooper Kupp because I think that's the most severe injury. They're suspecting it's going to be a high ankle and he's going to be out for a good amount of time. And I mean, unfortunately, this is the reason why I have 0 Cooper Kupp shares this year. He, I know high ankles. It's not necessarily because he's getting older, but I mean, over the last I don't know year or two, Cooper Kupp just hasn't been able to stay on the field. When he's on the field, he's amazing. I mean, he was my bullish buy last week because he's coming off a week 1 with 21 targets, and he's the only show in town. And obviously, he gets hurt and kind of tanks my lineup a little bit. I mean, I actually ended up doing pretty well. So if he would have stayed healthy, I think I would have crushed. But injuries happen, and obviously through 2 weeks in this NFL season. I mean, that's the story of fantasy football this year is just injuries. It's just insane. But yeah, so Cooper Kupp, that's unfortunate. AJ Brown missed Monday night game with a hamstring, and it looks like he's going to be out multiple weeks. That means, I mean, Devonta Smith, wheels up for him. He had 10 targets last night. He looked pretty good. Evan, I think you mentioned Debo Samuel strained calf. He's going to miss a couple weeks. I think it's Ayuk time, baby. It's time to force feed him some targets. It's time for him to earn that contract.
Show that money.
Yeah, we're going into week 3. I think that rust is almost knocked off. So I think it's definitely wheels up for him and George Kittle. And we just need to monitor Justin Jefferson and Amon-Ra St. Brown. They had contusions, so I think it's going to be a pain tolerance thing. They should be out there this week, but it's definitely something to monitor.
Agree. I mean, definitely. I mean, when they're all those big names too, I know that's that's got a lot of fancy guys up in arms too. So we'll try to stay close to it, and sometimes you can make some pretty bold predictions in the DFS world, which we're gonna talk next as we head into week 3. And Ethan, I know you and I we were neck and neck last week in week 2. I think I squeaked by like a point or two.
Yes. Thanks,
But
Cooper Cup.
yeah, yeah, yep. That was thanks to Cooper Cup. I know. I think if he stayed healthy, um, could have inched me out there. But yeah, let's go into week 3. But before we do that, we'll kind of brag a little bit and talk told you so's from last week. So Ethan, I don't know if you want to kick it off with your told you so's from last week.
Yeah, I'll kick it off. So I'll start off. As one of my pick six players, I mentioned J.K. Dobbins. He had 23.1 points, and he only cost $5,400. I thought it was a smash spot for J.K. Dobbins, and he came through for me. This next guy was I guess kind of bullish buy. He's the guy I would have talked about if you didn't bring him up. Then I switched to Cooper Cup, but Brees Hall, 24.4 points. That's cost of 7,400. So that 3x. So he fit the threshold. The Chargers defense at a cost of 3,400 had 11 points. So I thought that was a pretty solid performance by the Chargers. Like I said, Cooper Cup, I think he would have been on this list if he didn't get hurt. Unfortunately, high ankle sprain. And then not a lot went right in the Thursday night DFS.
No.
Bills, Miami. The only thing I can say I did get right is, hey, I told you the Bills are going to win this game.
That's right. You definitely did. Did not play out the way we had Pat and I or commission I thought that was going to. So, yeah, you definitely called that out. Bills are looking pretty good. I guess as far as I'm concerned, I know I came out with the win. I scored 137 points. And I look back, I'm like, how the heck did I score that much? Because some of the guys I called out last week didn't do too well. But yeah, Brees Hall kind of led the way for me. But a couple guys I didn't bring up was Malik Neighbors. He kind of helped me out quite a bit in our matchup. And then I also had Kyler Murray, who had a perfect game last week too, as well. So didn't bring those guys up, but outside of Brees Hall, Colby
Yeah.
Parkinson kind of let me down too. So
Yeah, I should have brought up Chris Godwin. He was in my lineup. He crushed.
that's true. That's true. So I guess like, we'll forget week 2. We'll kind of go into week 3. I am kind of excited about this week as we keep going into the season. Said let's kick it off with our bullish buy category, and for all you listeners out there in the DFS world, we're gonna break down our normal formula where usually you got to pay up, pay the piper a little bit. Who are you paying up in your lineups that'll be worth it, right? So we had the Brees Hall call last week, but Ethan, who are you bullish on in week 3?
Week 3, my bullish buy, actually kind of a cheap bullish buy, only 6,200, which I think is a steal for Jordan Mason, running back of the San Francisco 49ers. I just think this is a smash spot, right? Debo is not playing, so that just more carries that are going to go to Jordan Mason, and they're going to be playing with a positive game script. They're playing the Rams, who are without Puka and Cooper Cup, and a very porous offensive line. So I think the Niners are going to absolutely shellac um, the Rams here. So I expect Jordan Mason to get a ton of carries in a positive game script. Right now, the Niners are favored. They're -7 right now on the DraftKings line. Jordan Mason right now is 4th in running back snap share at 81%, 2nd in carry share 76%, 8th in route run share at 56%, and 8th in DraftKings fantasy points. And he's being priced right now at RB 14. So like I said, I think it's a steal. Through the first 2 weeks, he has 48 carries for 247 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's 5.15 yards a carry. The Rams allow 5.5 yards a carry and a league leading 57.7% rushing success rate. The Rams are 30th in average rushing yards allowed through the first 2 weeks and have allowed the second most points per game to running backs, 33.5. And it's just like I said, it's just a smash spot for Jordan Mason. I think everything's going to lean towards the running game for the 49ers. And I think he's going to get another 20 plus carries and he's going to definitely do damage with it. So I think Jordan Mason at 6,200 is actually a steal for a bullish buy.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I like when this happens a lot on the show, but I was not planning on bringing up Jordan Mason, but he was definitely in my lineup. So in the competition we're playing against each other, we definitely both have Jordan Mason. So I love that call. Yeah, I just think Mason's the guy right now. Also should be a pretty favorable game script for him as well. So definitely love that call. Could not agree more. But as for me, I am going to pay up a little bit more expensive. And I'm going to go with none other than CD Lamb. So CD Lamb is 8,800. So although he is the most expensive wide receiver in DraftKings, 8,800, is sometimes anything under 9,000 is a pretty good steal for your elite wide receivers like your Chases, your Cups, your Tyreek Hills, and stuff like that. So CD Lamb this week playing Baltimore, with that being the second over under, second highest over under of the week at 49 points. I think it's a very interesting matchup because both Baltimore and Dallas are both coming off of losses as well. So I think it's going to be a very intense game. On both sides, they both got to win. So I do feel that it's going to go back and forth a little bit. I know they're both good teams. They both have good defenses as well. Baltimore's coverage is kind of laxing a little bit, where Devontae Adams kind of cooked them, and then Rashee Rice the week before as well. So I really love Lamb in the Dallas offense this week. So I think just looking at the intangibles of the game and then it being just a must-win game, I love CD this week.
Yeah, you can't really argue against putting CD Lamb in your lineup. He is due for a breakout game. He's kind of had I guess two lackluster performances. I mean under two games under 20 points. You expect CD Lamb to eclipse that 20-point threshold almost every week. Obviously, he's not going to do that, but that's what we're hoping for when you get him when you put him in your lineup. He's kind of the only show in town right now. Until Ferguson comes back, which might be this week. I mean, Cooks needs to try to get going. Tolbert, who knows? But right now, I mean, CD Lamb is Dak's obviously go-to guy. It should be a high-scoring affair against the Baltimore Ravens. So, in your case, you're hoping CD can go off, score some touchdowns, rack up those yards, and set you up nicely in our matchup together.
Yeah, we'll definitely see there. But yeah, I like these guys this week. Good calls. Let's move on to defense. So this is our too deep section where we call out some of our favorite defensive plays, and I'll go ahead and kick this one off. And I'm gonna go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as my defense. This week they're only $3,000. I will throw out a caveat. They're not my favorite defense of the week. But I got a couple facts that I really like about having them anyway. One being 3,000 is pretty cheap. As I said, I paid up to get CD Lamb, but they're also favored. They're playing Denver at home, so they're playing in Tampa Bay. It's already a low over, and I think most of those points are going to come from Tampa Bay. So I think just that formula alone, where Tampa Bay is playing really good football right now, led by Baker, and then Bo Nix. I don't think he's doing horrible this year, but he definitely is struggling. So I think Tampa Bay can kind of take advantage of a rookie quarterback, and like I said, it's cheap. So I think being a favored defense at home for only 3,000 against a struggling offense is a smash play in my opinion. So I'm going Tampa Bay.
No, I actually like that call a lot. Strictly based on the price you have to pay to get them in your lineup, going against a Bo Nix led offense which has been struggling the first 2 weeks. So I think the Bucs are in a smash spot. So I actually do really like that call. Like you said, it's not it's not my favorite defense of the week, but for that price point, it actually might be my favorite defense of the week, just because it allows you to work your lineup a little easier at that price point. I'm going to go into my defense and going a similar route. I'm going to go the Seattle Seahawks. So a similar situation where you have Skylar Thompson going into Seattle. The Seattle Seahawks are playing the Miami Dolphins. Skylar Thompson, I don't think is going to be ready to go into Seattle and have a great game here. I think it's just going to be tough sledding all day. He didn't look very good when he came in for relief. Obviously, he's going to have a whole week of practice. Maybe he can get things cooking. But at the price point of 3,500, I do like the Seattle Seahawks. Right now, PFF through the first 2 weeks, they're the second ranked defense. They're the number one ranked defense. In terms of coverage, according to PFF. So I think they're going to give Skylar Thompson fits. Maybe, I mean, I guess my only, hesitation. I mean, it's still Tyreek Hill, it's still Jalen Waddle, but if you saw this Miami Dolphins team on prime time against the Buffalo Bills, they were once two left. It was pretty sad. So I'm rolling the dice with Seattle, hoping they can give Skylar Thompson trouble all day.
Yeah, I don't mind that call. I think there's a world where, Tyreek Hill can still get fantasy points, but Skylar Thompson can struggle, right? So I mean,
Yeah,
whether it's, throwing picks, pick sixes, whatever it is, I don't hate that call. What did you say the price point was on Seattle?
3,500.
35. Okay. Yeah. I mean, Seattle has built their defense over the past couple seasons where, they got some playmakers. So I can see it, maybe not in points, but I can see them making a couple big plays. And I think that's what you're going for here.
No, yeah, exactly. I mean, honestly, I don't care if Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle if they each break a touchdown off, right? It's not the end of the world giving up, I don't know, 14, 21 points, but I'm expecting Skylar Thompson to make some mistakes, maybe a pick six, fumble return, the big mistakes that really get you those fantasy points. So that's kind of what I'm banking on. I just don't think Skylar Thompson is that great of an NFL quarterback. And I'm going to take a unit in the Seattle Seahawks that have been playing pretty well. I mean, once they figured out New England last week, I mean, Jacoby Brissett had 32 passing yards in the second half. So I think Seattle is in a prime spot this week against Skylar Thompson.
Yep, good call there. So I guess that's enough about defenses. We're going to move on to the pick six category. And this is, I guess, my personal favorite category. This is where we got to try to find these value picks. And this is where you got to get guys in the lineup that are a little bit cheaper because you might have paid up, but, they're just enough value that you got a hunch that they're going to hit. So I'm going to kick this one off. And I'm gonna go with a guy that he came on my radar last year, his breakout week before he broke out, mind you. I will claim that. I'm gonna go with a guy that I've been high on. I'm gonna go with Tank Dell. Tank
Okay.
Dell for 5,200. So Tank Dell in week two didn't really give you what you were looking for. In their primetime game. I mean, had a couple of sweeps and really just had rushing yards, and I think he had negative receiving yards. But I'm gonna look I'm gonna look past that, right? Because
You
this
have
week
to.
you have to in DFS, right? But I'm gonna really zone in on this matchup. They're playing Minnesota, who is playing good football as well. But if we kind of rewind the clock just a little bit, Purdy still put up over 300 yards against Minnesota last week. Purdy after the game, I think it was captured in that post game, hot mic that Purdy, loved Brian Flores' scheme. He said, hey, his kind of crazy scheme he had going there. But I think I called this out week one that Flores just blitzes, right? He's last two seasons he's on a historic blitz rate. but more specifically zone blitzes, right? So I love that for Tank Dell, where he's at in that offense. So I think, with a lot of pressure and blitzing from Minnesota, I think that Tank Dell can be involved often. And that's where, I know I loved my Wandell pick in week one, and he got 12 targets, right? So I think I'm going to stick on this same category because I said I was close. You see the fire in my background right now. I'm heating up. Hopefully, hopefully I this one really takes off this week. But I'm kind of high on Tank Dell against the slot defense of Minnesota.
No, I mean, right now you're getting Tank Dell out of value. It's only been 2 weeks. The Texans offense, they're probably still trying to simulate all these pieces together, see how they work together. Tank Dell is going to have a spike weeks, and why not week 3, right? I think Tank Dell is a very talented player. CJ Stroud loved Tank Dell last year, looked his way a ton. So I think it's a matter of time before we do see a Tank Dell game. I do think both these offenses are playing well, so hopefully they can put up some points. But I just love the upside with Tank Dell at this price point. So even though he hasn't really been great thus far, I think it's a good dart throw. His floor, unfortunately, is very low, but obviously we know what type of ceiling he has. Unfortunately, has that ceiling been brought down too far due to Diggs and the Nico Collins just like surge right now? Maybe. It's only, like I said, I'm not going to really panic too much with Tank Dell. It's only been 2 weeks, but what we've seen so far is Nico Collins is the alpha, and Diggs is being heavily utilized in the red zone. So where does that leave Tank Dell? Right now, the distant third receiving option on this team. Hopefully this week, for your sake, he can start bouncing back.
I hope so. Like I mentioned, I had Tank Dell radar last year. Hopefully, it's coming back at the right time in 2024. But Ethan, let's hear about your first pick six player.
So my first pick six player right now is my flag plant, and a guy that I think is just going to continue to get better and better week in and week out, and that's my guy Brock Bowers. He's coming in at a price of 5,400, and honestly, I think with Brock Bowers, that's a steal. That's only going to go get higher and higher week to week. I mean, we're talking about a guy that has 17 targets in his first 2 weeks of the NFL, right? This guy's a rookie. He already has 17 targets through 2 weeks. Devontae Adams has 18. Minshew's looking at him just as much as Devontae Adams. They were trying to get the ball to him in a multitude of ways last week. In the short pass game down the field, he had 9 catches, 9 targets for 98 yards, and was essentially like a half yard short of falling into the end zone. So Brock Bowers, I think it just wheels up against a pretty bad Carolina Panthers passing defense. Obviously, teams have been lighting them up. My only hesitation with Brock Bowers is that they get up too much on the Carolina Panthers, but hey, maybe the red rifle will save us and give us a little more points, a little more points on that end. But right now, Brock Bowers, he's right now in terms of first read share amongst all tight ends, he's number 2 with 27%. McBride is ranked number 1 with 28%. He's just he's one of the focal points of this offense, and he's going to continue to grow in this offense. And it's just crazy what he's able to do right now through his first 2 weeks. I've been high on him all offseason. I thought he was going to come in and dominate right away, just like he did at Georgia as a rookie. And that's exactly what's happening. So if I can get a guy that has tight end overall number 1 upside for $5,400 in my lineup, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, you know what? I like this call a lot. I like you've talked me into Bowers. I've rode along the ride with you, so I'm seeing it firsthand. I definitely like what he's he's throwing out there. But I also like what you're kind of cooking up here against the Panthers. So I was looking a little bit closer to that spread. It's only a 40. It's a low scoring spread at 40 points, but it only has the Raiders favored by 5 points at home too. So I think Vegas is also on the same lines that maybe the Red Rocket can kind of be the Panthers savior, and I do want to see some back and forth a little bit. So I would love to see Dalton throw one or two touchdowns as well and kind of keep the Raiders in it, just enough for Bowers to stay involved. So I don't mind that pick, and hopefully it kind of goes that way. But it's interesting you brought up a tight end because I'm going to do that as well. And I guess I'll just prelude it where there's certain guys in DFS where sometimes you just gotta buy low on. Tank Dell was an example. This is another guy. He's coming in at tight end 4,800. I know week one.
I already know where this
Week
is
one,
going.
week one, everybody was up in arms, right? But I'm going with Mark Andrews, right, with week one. Going back to that game, same exact reason why I got CD Lamb in my lineup. I want to target this game, the Baltimore Dallas game. I think Lamar's got to still throw it to Mark Andrews. Last week he had a little bit of an uptick in week two. No breakout yet, but 5 targets, 50 yards, nothing to brag about yet. But I think against Dallas in Dallas, it's going to be a tough game for the Ravens, so they're going to have to they're going to have to put on their best game, right? So I like Andrews. He's also great. I called it out before, just as PFF grade against man and zone. And Dallas actually is a very balanced defense when it comes to man and zone snap wise. So I don't think scheme really plays into too much effect here. Throwing Andrews in your lineup, and like I said, I think Ravens have to keep the foot on the gas, and even in the passing game. So I'm going Mark Andrews, and once again, his price point's only 4,800 this week.
I think this is a smash call, and is a call I was very close to make, but I could not pass up my guy Brock Bowers. So I just think Bowers right now has more upside than Mark Andrews, but that could change rather quickly with an Andrews bounce back. Likely went back to being the tight end 2 on this team. And what I heard a lot the last after the Kansas City game too is like the Ravens do um, like to change things up quite a bit against the Kansas City Chiefs. So sometimes you can't take too much about what their offensive scheme is or what they were trying to do too much in terms of like projecting that out um, um, as we go from week to week. But and as the season continues, but Mark Andrews, I think, is going to get his legs under him. Like we talked about before, he had that car accident. He missed some time. He looked a little winded in week one. Now you have a whole week of practice. You play in week two. Now we're heading to week three. So hopefully Mark Andrews kind of gets his legs back underneath him, and we start to see the Mark Andrews of old, the tight end one that we're used to seeing.
I hope so. I got my fingers crossed. But Ethan, let's go on to your next pick six player.
Yeah, so my next pick six player, I cheated a little bit in terms of the price point, but I couldn't help myself with Jamison Williams, $5,800. I just think he has way too much upside to keep out of your lineups, especially with the Amon-Ra news. I know it's only a contusion, but hey, you don't know how he's going to react. It's a pain tolerance thing, and Jameson Williams has been a staple of this offense. And Sam Laporta, unfortunately, has been relegated to a distant number 3 option in this offense, and that's due to the emergence of Jameson Williams. I mean, Jameson Williams had 9 and 11 targets in his first 2 weeks. In week one, 121 and a touchdown, and last week 5 for 79. This has the highest over under of the main slate, 52.5. There's going to be a lot of points against the Arizona Cardinals, and I just couldn't pass up Jameson Williams in my lineup. I just think with his skill set, with his profile, I mean, he could make his day in one play. So I just love the upside for 5,800 with the Arizona Lions matchup. So I was very excited to get JMO into my lineup.
Yeah, I like that call a lot, and I think for a couple reasons where even I think sometimes we live in this like parallel universe where we don't have these exact same guys, but we almost built our roster identically this week too. Because yeah, I love targeting the Dallas and the Ravens game, but this Lions and Cardinals game I love targeting as well. So I like Jameson Williams. He is not my next pick six player, but who I do have is I think a guy that you like.
Ooh, yes, yes.
I'm
Greg Dortch,
going,
baby.
yes, I am going Greg Dortch.
Here we
So
go.
getting a little down and dirty, but 4,500. I think in this over with 52.5 points, there's gonna be a lot of passing attempts, a lot of points scored, highest over the week, as you said. Dortch got he was a little quiet last week in the week 2 blowout with the Rams, and of course we saw the Marvin Harrison kind of took over the show there. But if we rewind the clock 2 weeks back to week 1 where the Cardinals played the Bills, which that was a very close knit game. Dortch had 8 targets in week 1. So I think in a back and forth game, Kyler Murray's got to kind of spread the ball out a little bit more. I'm going Greg Dortch this week as my cheapest pick six player.
No, I love the call, and I'm not going to delay the inevitable because he's my last pick six player too, Greg Dortch.
Nice.
Yeah, I wanted to attack that matchup. Yeah, there he is.
Okay, there he is. Okay.
I was really high on Greg Dortch coming into the season, and like you said, in week 1, he was playing at a 69% snap share, or sorry, 61% snap share, and that went down to 39% in week 2. But I don't think that's because Greg Dortch just got relegated to a minuscule role. They won 41-10. They weren't in 3 wide receiver sets too often in that second half. So Dortch being the slot receiver wasn't on the field as much. I mean, Dortch paced all receivers in week 1 with receptions and targets. And yeah, he went away in week 2, but they won 41-10.
Yeah.
So that's to be expected. I think with a 52.5 over under against a Lions team that can put up points, that needs to have a bounce back game themselves. If the Lions can put up points, I think you're going to be seeing a lot of Greg Dortch. So yeah, I love this. I love this call, and I think it's going to smash.
It's funny, out of all players, the players that we matched was Greg Dortch. So I don't know, maybe that's fantasy gods, week 3 coming through. So we'll definitely see there. But that kind of,
Now he's going like 2 for 10.
yeah, yeah, that could be too. I guess that's how the world works sometimes. But that's kind of your main slate games as we talked today. And I think as we are finishing out the week, before we get to the main slate, we got our under the lights section. So this is always fun with our Thursday night game. We got the Patriots, your beloved Patriots, against the New York Jets this Thursday. So I know you're going to be at the edge of your seat. Are you? I guess it's in New York, so you won't be in. You won't be at this game, right?
No, I was there last Sunday when they lost in overtime to the Seattle Seahawks. They put up a good fight, but like I said, Jacoby Brissett threw for 32 yards in the second half. They just they had no adjustments. I mean, Seattle adjusted to them. Hunter Henry went off in the first half, and then they took Hunter Henry out, and it was game over. So we'll see what Thursday night brings, but I don't know if you want me to go right into how I feel how this game's going to
Yeah,
go.
I can kind of set the tone a little bit. I mean, as far as the spreads go, you got the Jets are favored by 6.5 points, and the kind of a relatively low over under at 38.5 points. So Ethan, I'll definitely let you kick it off, considering it's your Patriots team you're talking about.
Yeah, the negative 6.5 spread is a little tough, just for the fact that the Patriots have been playing teams very, very tough through the first 2 weeks. They're a team that's not just going to fold and just go away. So 6.5 points does feel like a lot. I do think the Jets are going to win. I do think the Patriots keep it close only if they don't turn the ball over and they can control the clock like they have been for the first 2 weeks. If Jacoby Brissett starts tossing interceptions and things go awry, or it becomes a very negative game script for them, it's going to get ugly quick. But I am picking the Jets. Honestly, I think I'm going to take Jet. This is tough. I think I'll go. I'll give my Patriots a little credit. I'll go Jets, but I'll probably take the Patriots with the plus 6.5.
I like that. I actually like that take. I'm kind of with you. I think, the maybe the average person looking at the spread may say, "Oh yeah, Jets can cover a touchdown." They got to just win by a touchdown. But I think to your point, Patriots can play teams very close. I think they can kind of help dictate the game a little bit. Just how good their defense is too. And I think with the Jets defense, pretty decent as well. I think the over only being 38 points is dead on too. But yeah, I think Patriots plus 6.5. I wouldn't mind taking to cover as well.
Yeah, in week one, the Patriots beat the Bengals. They had a few things go their way, but obviously they played them tough and got the W. Week two, I think it's a game that they should have won. Jerome Mayo probably wishes he had a couple of those calls back. I think they probably should have went for it on 4th and 1 in overtime. They never got the ball back. The Seattle Seahawks went down, kicked the field goal to win the game, but two tough fought matches, which is why I think the 6.5 points I think is a decent amount because this. I mean, it's a division game. The Jets and Patriots always play pretty close. So I do like the Patriots with the points. But that being said, the Patriots need to get things going with their receivers. I mean, right now, through 2 weeks, Aaron, I'm just throwing this out there. How many yards do you think Patriots receivers have in total
Oh,
through 2 weeks?
under 100?
It's under 100. Yes. 85 yards, right?
Ooh,
85 yards through 2 weeks. Their leading receiver right now is KG Osborne with 28 yards.
ooh.
Tyquan Thornton, 27 yards. Polk, 18. Demario Douglas, 12. Like 85 yards from your receivers. That's just it's insane. Like I was actually listening to local sports talk radio, WEI, and they kind of brought up this crazy stat. They're like, in the last 10 years, 32 qualifying teams a year. So 320 teams, right? Out of 320 teams through 2 weeks, the Patriots receiving core, their yardage total ranks 320. This is the worst receiving group in terms of yardage through the first 2 weeks in the last 10 years. It's just bad. I knew it was going to be bad with the wide receiver position, but I didn't think it was going to be this bad. Right now, Jacoby Brissett has very little time to throw. He's been getting the ball out quick, but it's just short, intermediate passes. He doesn't have much time to allow plays to develop. So maybe that's the issue. But if the Patriots don't figure that out quickly, I mean, the Jets have a good defense. They can, they don't even have to do any work to shut down the Patriots receivers. But if they start shutting down Ramondre Stevenson and they force Brissett to throw the ball to those outside receivers, I think it may be a long day. And then that's where I can see that the Jets um, easily beating that touchdown spread there. So that's just my two thoughts on that's my 2 cents on the New England Patriots right now. They play teams tough, but it may start to get ugly quick if they can't start turning things around offensively.
I was gonna say, Ethan, why don't you tell us how you really feel? uh, but no, I think that's kind of a good prelude to the game. We'll kind of, a lot of times in these under the light games, the Thursday night captains, you really got to kind of understand how the game flow is going to go, and before you pick your captains, right, or at least pick what pieces you got in your lineup. So let's move on to that. I'll go ahead and kick it off here. With my pick here. So my captain is kind of to me just one where I didn't waste too much time thinking about it. Because I went with this guy right here with Brees Hall as my
There he
captain.
is.
So I think a couple things I like about this is just getting the running back as my captain, where it's probably not going to be a whole lot of passing yardage overall in this game. What we've seen, I mean, Jets are kind of letting you down slightly as far as just their overall offense. I think Aaron Rodgers is showing flashes, but they're not really a high octane offense. But the one shiny piece they still got is Brees Hall. So I'm going Brees Hall. I think he's the number one captain of the week, but I think rightfully so. So he's my captain this week.
One shiny object. A lot of disrespect to Garrett Wilson right there. A lot of disrespect.
Oh, true.
But no, I mean, you can't go wrong with Brees Hall. Uh, I mean, there's a very, very, very good possibility that he is the number one scoring fantasy player out of the Thursday night game. He's just been an absolute animal through the first 2 weeks. Um, I mean, imagine if Braylon Allen didn't cut into his workload.
Right.
He'd be really crushing. But yeah, I guess we'll see how the Patriots can. I mean, the Patriots always usually do a good job of containing your number one option. That's either Brees Hall or Garrett Wilson. So that might be tough sledding for the Patriots because Brees Hall has just been great on the ground and through the air. But yeah, you can't go wrong with Brees Hall. You need to ride the hot hand. And right now, the offense of the New York Jets is going through Brees Hall. Yeah, so I do like that call. I went in a slightly different direction. I was thinking about potentially going Brees Hall, but I went with Garrett Wilson. I feel like Garrett Wilson, as along with Brees Hall, has a ton of upside. Just being in the stands and watching JSN and DK Metcalf torch the New England Patriots secondary. That was one of the big reasons why I went with the upside pick in Garrett Wilson. I think it's just a matter of time before he has a blow up game, and that might be Thursday night. Like I said, JSN went 12 for 117. DK went 10 for 129 against this Patriots defense. Right now, the Patriots defense has given up the fourth most DraftKings points to opposing wide receivers this season. So I do think that lends well to Garrett Wilson. And if I'm the Patriots, I mean, I think your main focus defensively needs to take Brees Hall out of the game. Because in the passing game, I mean, it's Garrett Wilson and not much else. I mean, Allen Lazard, Tyler Conklin's been a disappointment for the first couple of weeks. So I think Garrett Wilson has just that upper echelon ceiling along with Brees Hall. But I mean, I just think at some point he's going to take off, and it might be Thursday night against my beloved Patriots.
Yeah, I don't hate that either. I mean, I think if you're looking at captains, I think you kind of go back and forth. Do I want Brees Hall or I want Garrett Wilson? I think those are your top stars.
They're
So
both
yeah,
expensive.
they're both expensive. And then we're also going with guys, from a favor. The Jets are favored as well too. So yeah, can't hate it there. So I think with in both of those scenarios, if you pay up to get those captains, yeah, I think you got to find your value plays. So let's move on to who I can kind of combine who I got and I paid in a little cheaper with in my lineup. So with Brees. I kind of looked down and the more I thought about it, the guy that I like the most value wise in my lineup is $5,000, and I'm going with Greg the Leg Zerline. So
Nice.
I think Jets kicker. I think alluding to going back to that spread. One thing that tells me is that it could be a 3 or 6 point game. According to Vegas too, and I think field goals could possibly win it for the Jets. Where I think New England can keep it close. I do, as I think we both were saying. I think Jets they'll still pull it out, but it may not be with touchdowns. So I like the idea of getting a Jets kicker in my lineup.
No, Greg the leg. That's a great call. I was putting him in my lineup, taking him out, putting him in, taking him out. So and along with what you said, I think it's going to be a potential field goal kicking kind of night because I do think the Patriots defense is good. I think the Jets have a good defense too. So I think the kickers are going to have a lot of opportunity, especially on the Jets side, because I think the Jets can move the ball better than the Patriots can. So I definitely like the Greg the leg call for 5,000. There was a few options I was thinking about in this category. Greg the Leg was one, but I think I'm going to go with the Jets defense at 5,200. I, like I was alluding to, I don't think the Patriots can keep getting away, not throwing to the wide receivers and just pounding the rock. At some point, defenses are going to catch on. Like I said, Seattle held Brissett to 32 passing yards in the first half. Once they're like, hey, you know what? All they're doing is throwing to Hunter Henry. And maybe let's take Hunter Henry away and force him to throw to other guys. And that's exactly what they did. And he couldn't find anybody. So the Jets have a lot of talented playmakers. And at $5,200, I mean, if Brissett makes a few mistakes, or if the Patriots start unraveling at the seams, I don't think it's a. I think the Jets do have a lot of upside defensively. So that was a guy that the defense, the Jets defense was somebody that I think is a potentially good play here. And then I brought him up a little earlier, but I was also thinking potentially Braylon Allen, because if this game does get out of hand and Braylon Allen can fall in the end zone like he did last week for his price point of I believe it's 5,200, I don't think that's bad either. So I know I'm giving Jets a lot of credit right now, but those are some of the price points that I like, because it was tough. I mean, it was tough getting a lot of stud. You couldn't get all the studs in your lineup, obviously, having Garrett Wilson and Brees Hall as your captain. So you really had to be a little creative.
I agree. And I think the Jets defense is, I think I got him in there too. So I think and another time where we got a similar lineup, just swapped our captains around a little bit. But yeah, I agree with the Jets D. I think with the, how good that secondary is, if they are up on the Patriots, I think it might not be a great story. But I mean, we'll definitely see. I mean, they beat they beat Burrow and the Bengals week 1, so and they went in overtime week 2. So I'm not gonna discredit the Patriots too much. They're not really I guess they're playing a little bit different than what I was expecting coming in 2024.
Oh, definitely, definitely. It's they're definitely much more competitive than I thought. But the ugly side of things started to show itself in that second half against Seattle with how bad their offense was. So, I mean, I think Brissett only had 150 yards passing the entire game. So that's not going to get it done week in and week out. And as more and more tape is out there on this Patriots offense, it's going to be easier for defensive coordinators to prep against this team. So that's what I'm worried about. So we'll see if the Patriots can continue to fight and keep these games close, and hopefully the wheels don't fall off Thursday night.
All right, yeah, we'll definitely stay tuned for the Thursday night game. So yeah, definitely all of you out there, get your captains lineups in, and hopefully we helped you out there. But I guess we'll move on to the next section, and I'm gonna kind of rub this little image there. This this is our hot take section here. So hopefully this fire works here. So I'll kick it off with my hot take of the week, and I'm gonna get a little spicy, I think, on this one. It's gonna be all receiving prop related here, and I think I don't know what it is, the plus money yet, but I know it should be pretty high. So I'm gonna say you got a 3-person parlay, and I'm gonna say CD scores 2 touchdowns, 2 receiving touchdowns. Dell gets 1, Andrews gets 1, and take Dortch's over on receptions. And that's going to get really juicy. So I don't know what the plus money is on that, but that all I know is I'm betting it this weekend.
Hey, hopefully it hits. I know you came close this past weekend to making some money, but betting's tough, man. Betting's tough. I came close. You think something's a lock, like the Colts -3 against Malik Willis and the Packers, and it just doesn't come through for you.
Yeah, yeah, we'll definitely see. But Ethan, what do you got for your hot take?
Okay, my hot take revolves around a parlay on my captain, Garrett Wilson. We are going to take his over 5.5 receptions, over 85.5 yards, and a Garrett Wilson anytime touchdown. That's plus 375. You can take that to the bank.
I like it. I definitely like that. So, we'll, I guess another thing. So on our socials, we've been having a couple people reach out to us recently, kind of helping with lineups and whatnot. We also have a Discord, so we can send you that link and you can join our Discord. We also like to put our bets on our Discord, all these juicy hot takes each week too. So, if you're interested just with fantasy advice, but we also talk betting in our Discord as well. And then, of course, definitely make sure you're following us on all of our socials. But until next time, folks, peace.